Well, a night that we probably won't soon forget. LeBron James against Donovan Mitchell in the new era of Cleveland Cavaliers basketball. LeBron's only trip to Cleveland here in 2022, 2023. And boy, did the Cavaliers look awfully good. Donovan Mitchell played arguably his best game in wearing a Cavaliers uniform. Cavs Insider post-game show coming up next here from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Well, hi, everybody, and welcome to the Cavs Insider podcast from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. After a memorable night for the Cleveland Cavaliers, 116-102, the Cavs thumped the LA Lakers tonight in their only trip to Cleveland. The game was tied at 92, and then Cleveland absolutely rampaged LA the rest of the way. Brendan Gulick, John Rutter with you here from downtown Cleveland. Spencer German joining us from home. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you're live, if you're listening after the fact, that's cool too. Appreciate you subscribing to our YouTube channel and supporting the show, CavsInsider.com for all the latest on the team. All right. There's a lot of different places we can start tonight, but I feel like we have to start with Donovan Mitchell because of the way he performed in a night that I guess like deep down inside for me, guys, felt like this almost ceremonial passing of the torch in front of Cleveland fans where, Donovan finally had a chance to play against LeBron in front of his new hometown fans. And I tweeted this during the game. I'm not saying Donovan Mitchell is better than LeBron James, but I think he is as entertaining to watch as any Cavalier that's taken the floor in my lifetime. He routinely does things in game that make me go, wow, out loud. I mean, he is so fun to watch.
Sure. And he put a spin move on LeBron, threw an alley-oop to Jarrett Allen. He had the steal and the dunk late in the game. He seemed to get better as the game wore on. And you talk about the ceremonial passing of the torch. They had the tribute video for LeBron. He gets the standing ovation. And Donovan said it himself here in the postgame comments that he was just kind of sitting here soaking that moment in and kind of relishing being in the moment. It was a special night here at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. And what a way for him to cap it off with a 43-point night. Season high, I believe, for him.
Did you say they put a tribute video for LeBron?
They did.
Yeah.
They caught, and I went to LeBron's postgame press conference, and he was asked if that caught him off guard because he's been here, he's come back a lot.
That's what I'm confused about. He's been back since he left.
Me a little off
guard. That's what I'm confused about because he's been back since they left. I don't get it, but no, you bring up the ceremonious passing of the torch, if you will. It was something I wrote about a couple weeks ago when they beat the Lakers in LA, just kind of signaling to me, this is a new era of Cavs basketball that doesn't have to revolve around the question of, will LeBron come back or can they do it without LeBron? I think they kind of signal that, but now you sweep him this season. Again, you'd only had, as a franchise, that only beat LeBron one time before this season when he was on a different team, obviously. It's a big deal in some respects. And to your point, Brendan, like for Donovan Mitchell to put on the show he did, especially on a night where the Cavaliers were struggling to shoot the ball, and he turns it on in the key moments where you really need him, and to do it against LeBron, in front of LeBron, in front of these fans here in Cleveland, certainly feels a little bit more ceremonious than even the win in LA earlier this season. So that's a pretty cool thing. I couldn't stop thinking throughout the night as he kind of would turn it on and have these moments that this is why you traded for Donovan Mitchell. And late in that game when he puts them away, it was like, this is it. This is what you got this guy for.
Actually working on an article on that right now about why this is a profound reason for why they acquired a guy like Donovan Mitchell. And as he was hitting shot after shot going down the stretch, he hit a three from the wing. I'm not sure what he said, but Donovan had some things to say. And just a special moment too, because I remember he hit that three and like the camera panned to LeBron and LeBron just shaking his head. And it just kind of like, that was very emblematic of like how things are going tonight for Cleveland.
And look, I mean, the folks that were here, the 20,000 strong, probably would walk out of this arena and admit this. I hope people at home could feel the electricity in this place. It was unbelievable right from the start of the game. As loud and into it as I've seen this crowd in a non-playoff game. I mean,
we've had some good crowds this year,
in a long time.
We've had some good crowds this year so far too. I mean, they're 11-1 now at home. This has been a very good place to play for them. They've admitted that they feed off of that energy here in this building, but it was something to another level tonight.
So as crazy as it is, I'm thinking about how good this team has been at home. It's actually kind of wild. Their ability to figure it out at home is basically unmatched. It's the best home record anybody in the NBA's had this year. They're one of the most efficient teams at home. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league when they play at home. I don't know how much truly a home court advantage can mean to professional athletes. I mean, these are guys that are literally paid to be at the top of their game, right? But I think there's something to be said for knowing you're the villain or knowing you're the guy that's being pulled for. And to your point, like, I don't know what Donovan said, but like, maybe it's kind of like, hey, this is my city now, and maybe it was.
It was funny too, because, and I mentioned it to you during the press conference, like, Donovan's this soft-spoken guy. He's always smiling, but like, he stepped back, he hit that three, and he was like flipping his finger and like saying something. And I just thought, okay, like, he brings a lot of veteran leadership, but I get the sense that he kind of brings a little bit of attitude out there too.
He should.
I think that's one of those, I think, just across the board in sports, right? Like, sometimes there are guys who are more soft-spoken, more kind of just keep to themselves, but you get them in their element, playing the game and having this big night on a big stage. I mean, nationally televised game the game was on TNT tonight. So those who were watching at home, you weren't turned on Bally Sports tonight. You were watching it on national TV, along with many other people across America who tune in to see LeBron James, and he's watching his former team beat up on him a little bit, and Donovan Mitchell putting on the show he did. So it's cool when you get that sort of stage and the guys not only rise to the occasion with their play, but then you get some of that personality and that attitude coming out. So that to me, like, you could kind of tell through the screen how excited Donovan was with the performance he was having, and that he was really feeding off of what he was doing out there. And it was like shot after shot. I was at a point where I was like, oh, that three's good. Like, you just knew it was going in for him. Like, it was incredible. He had that scoop layup at one point. That was incredible. So many memorable moments, I think, from this one for Donovan Mitchell. And, we've seen some great games so far this season, 30-plus point performances. I forget what number this is for him now in the season, but
13.
What was it? What was the number?
It's number 13.
13? There you go. But this one might take the cake so far this season, because, he played lights out. It was incredible.
43 points in 40 minutes. He was 17 of 27 from the floor, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 of 8 from deep. And frankly, there were times where it wasn't even what he was doing in the box score that just showed up to me. His effort on the floor, just unbelievable. It was so much fun to watch him. And I think we could probably talk every single time we do a post-game show about Donovan Mitchell. But the reality is, arguably, the bigger story for the team tonight was Jarrett Allen's return to the floor after he's missed the last several games with an injury. I'm not sure too many people would argue at this point that outside of Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen's probably the most important player on this Cavs team. I don't think anybody really expected him to go 10 for 10 to start the night. And JB Bickerstaff even said post-game, he's like, look, we weren't like trying to get him the ball necessarily. Sure. The team was just kind of reading the right play. He was in the paint. He was open. Maybe some of his efficiency tonight was because Anthony Davis left the game with flu-like symptoms. Perhaps that played into it. But I also think Jarrett Allen plays like he's got something to prove all the time, and that's part of the reason why he's fun to watch.
He does. You talk about another guy that's soft-spoken. I mean, doesn't necessarily say a whole lot on the
25
floor.
Going on 60.
Right, exactly. He's but he has this just a calm demeanor that it kind of exudes and I think permeates a lot of these guys in that lineup. And, I asked JB today about specifically whether or not they were trying to get him involved early on, and also about like his jump shooting ability, because I noticed he kind of stepped back and we when we talk about Jarrett Allen a lot, we always talk about his defense, we talk about his shot blocking, we talk about his presence around the rim, but he's not afraid to step back and take a 15 to 17 footer. He knocked a few of those down, and when he's able to do that, that just adds another dynamic for all of these guys, for Donovan Mitchell, for Darius Garland, for Evan Mobley, his co-runner down there underneath the rim.
Yeah, man, it was his 10th double-double tonight. I saw that stat come up. Another impressive performance, and I think when you get those numbers, the double-double numbers and all that, you kind of realize just how important he is, but especially on the defensive end of the floor. I mean, he's their paint protector. He's their primary guy inside. Mobley can hold his own generally, but he's still, as a young guy, kind of learning some things. And there's certainly moments where we've seen when Jarrett Allen isn't out there that he gets taken advantage of a little bit because he's not as strong, or he's not as his game isn't as finessed, I guess, as some of these other players out there, and they kind of take advantage of that. But Jarrett Allen is a veteran. He knows how to, use those things to his advantage. He knows how to defend guys a little bit better inside. And frankly, you bring up the hitting his first 10 shots, and they needed that tonight because, Brennan, you mentioned Mitchell going 4 of 8 from 3. He made more than half of the team's 3-pointers tonight. They were not hitting shots from the outside. And so Jarrett Allen becoming that offensive threat inside is what really, kept them in control of this game through most of it, and was able to kind of help them stay at times right there with the Lakers when they could have gone on a run. And then at the end, you get the big explosion that they were able to pull away, which I think was just the mark of they're the better team in this matchup. So, his presence and importance back on the floor tonight could not be understated. I'm 100% with you guys.
And look, like, I realize this team is really, really good at shooting the 3 ball, and they didn't shoot it great tonight. The reality is they shot 52% from the floor across the entire game, and they played hard defense down the stretch when they needed to. And so frankly, it became a comfortable win by the end. There weren't a whole lot of super nervous people. In fact, both teams cleared the benches in the last, 90 seconds or whatever it was. So, I guess maybe a little bit of an odd night in the sense that, it was not a great 3-point shooting night. I don't want to dwell too much on this. This is a Cavs show. It's a Cavs podcast. I am a little surprised at kind of how bad the Lakers are. They're not good. And I don't know if they're going to figure it out or not. And it's to me, it's almost kind of sad that, LeBron is playing on a team here toward the end of his career. I don't know how many years he's got left. That is not a championship roster. They don't even seem close.
It's glaring to me to see the difference of that team, specifically once Anthony Davis was out, because there was, you talk about a rim protector. He is the only one that they had. And then when he was not in there, you had Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, like they could get to the paint at will. I'm not sure what the points in the paint was. I think that I don't know the exact numbers, but it was lopsided in favor of the Cavs tonight because they were just able to score and to get to the paint at will, something they pride themselves on. And that's something that they can kind of generate offense from. But you're right. We were remarking like what is, when you look at that roster, what does that team maybe compare to? And you talk, everyone likes to joke and talk about like the 2007 team, like it was LeBron and nobody else. This is far worse. I mean, kind of in my
not good.
My perspective,
from
a team like that.
Yeah. No, and again, like I don't want to harp too much on the Lakers because I don't know how many people genuinely care about that. But the reality is it's kind of shocking because LeBron's game doesn't seem to have dipped much as he's aged. And I'm genuinely surprised that they are playing as poorly as they are. I'm sure they can figure it out some way, somehow. The reality is Anthony Davis, the last 8 games has been ridiculous. Obviously he was coming off a 55-point game. I am a little surprised that the Lakers can't seem to get it going over the last 18 months now.
See, you say surprised, but I you look at the iteration of this team from last year to this year, not much really changed. There's clearly some rift with, Russell Westbrook, and he wasn't really a good fit. There was all the rumors last year that they were going to make that trade for Buddy Hield, which would have made way more sense for that team than getting Russell Westbrook, which they ended up doing. The most perplexing thing to me is for any of the people out there who are on the, hey, LeBron should buy the Cavaliers one day from Dan Gilbert and be sort of heading that up. Maybe something that makes you a little, push the pause button on that a little bit is I just don't know that he knows how to really build a team. We've seen it. We've seen it firsthand here in Cleveland. The best LeBron is when he has shooters around him. And this team just doesn't have shooters at all. There's nobody. And I get that he kind of probably figured Anthony Davis was going to give you a little bit more. He wasn't going to be hurt as much as he has been. But this is just not the roster to surround LeBron with to go contend for championships, to your point, Brendan. So, yeah, I mean, it's surprising in the sense that, how did he get here? How did he let this team get here? But it's not surprising that this roster is not performing with him still playing at a high level, because this just isn't the formula to win with LeBron. It just flat out isn't.
Any other thoughts on tonight?
Well, the only thing I was going to go with is, and we touched on it a little bit when earlier in the show and kind of in our opening comments. Not necessarily the best shooting night tonight from three-point land. They're coming off of a poor shooting performance against the New York Knicks. We've seen at times this team can kind of, for lack of a better term, kind of go into like that shooting swoon where they don't necessarily perform well. Are you concerned about that moving forward, or are you relieved that you have a cure-all in a Donovan Mitchell to kind of alleviate that problem?
It's a great question. And I think the fact that Donovan Mitchell is able to score so many different ways, to me, that dampens it a little bit. You know, I feel like the Cavs are built to succeed long-term because they're not too reliant, in my opinion. They're not too reliant on one thing, even though they have been as good as they have been from behind the three-point line. I never thought this team was going to win 60 games. I do expect them to make the playoffs, and I certainly think they are going to be a top 4 team in the East and have a home court advantage, which is proving to be a really important thing for this team. But I guess I'm not terribly concerned about that, all things considered. So, homestand continues. It should be a fun weekend. Got the Kings, and it was the Kings and Thunder Friday, Saturday. And then the team will be on the road down to the Great Lone Star State, heading to San Antonio on Monday and Dallas on Wednesday. So the next couple of games coming up for the Cavs. Spence, any final thoughts, bud?
Yeah, I was just going to add, you guys are talking about things to be concerned about a little bit. I was a little worried tonight about just the lack of bench scoring. I think they only scored 19 points tonight. And look, I know, like you guys said, Donovan Mitchell kind of becomes a cure-all for that type of stuff, and he can kind of carry you to the finish line a lot of times. But, we talked so early in the season, John and I, especially on this podcast, about how the depth of this team is so good, and that's something that past Cavs teams in recent years hasn't had. So to not get that scoring tonight was a little bit concerning when you're getting outscored to a Lakers team that we just spent a couple of minutes talking about how bad they are, and you're getting outscored. That was a little concerning. But I don't know that's something that necessarily lasts, similar to the shooting woes. I think that's just kind of what happens during the season. There's swoons, and then there's stretches where you kind of struggle. And I think as a young team, they're still kind of working through some of those things. So I'm not overly concerned at this point. I think John and I have kind of established at this point, Brendan, I think like until the calendar turns to January, I don't know that there's really a ton to feel like overly concerned about. So, sure. They're learning, they're growing, they're going to figure this thing out and hopefully get better. And I think we all kind of agree that they very much are in the playoff picture, and that's what's most important here. So, but yeah, obviously a good win, and it's good to have them back in town here for a few games.
Crowd was awesome, and I really think people are starting to enjoy what this team is capable of, and the fact that they played so well against, frankly, one of the games you always circle on your schedule at the beginning of the year leaves Cavs fans feeling pretty good. So a double-digit win tonight, 116-102. Donovan Mitchell, man, was he good. 43 points tonight, dominated LeBron and the Lakers as the Cavs pick up a big win. For Spencer German, for John Rutter, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Cavs Insider Podcast. We'll be with you on Friday. The Cavs and Kings come down here, and hopefully the Cavs can keep stringing things together. Things certainly look good here early in the season still, but we're far enough away in that certainly have reason to think that this is trending in the right direction. So we'll see you on Friday as the Cavs and Kings get ready, but Cavs pick up a big win tonight against the Lakers.